Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of those that's attending the LinkedIn live session. Welcome to the session today. We really have an opportunity to listen to some perspectives around building a commercially successful coaching practice. And through that, we're also going to hear specifically about a unique program, which is called Coaching Unlimited, that enables that objective to be met. And I have really got two illustrious coaches with me over here. And I'm really delighted to have this opportunity to have a conversation with them. PK Narayanan, we fondly call him PK. He's really been a CEO coach for more than a decade, been helping business owners, CEOs, and business leaders scale their businesses and really position their businesses for long-term success. So it's really about business outcomes. That's what really PK focuses on, and we'll really get to hear more from his point of view as well. So welcome PK to the session.
Thank you, Anand.
And along with PK is another illustrious coach, somebody that I know very well as well, Subhash. He's really been an executive coach, primarily coaching senior leadership in many of the corporate settings and organizations. He's an ICF mentor in addition to being a coach. He's really mentored about 400 ICF coaches. He's been the founder of Regal Unlimited and really enables people. I think his journey is as much about coaching people as it is about enabling coaches to become coaches as well. So, welcome, Subhash, into the session as well.
Thanks, Anant.
So, I'm going to get started with you, PK. You've been a coach for over a decade. What did you see in coaching that spurred your interest and attracted you to embark on this journey in the first place?
See, Anand, coaching is a calling and it occurs to people when we are ready to add value to others' lives. And I have been a coach for since 2013. And prior to that 10 years, I was a consultant addressing the same segment that you mentioned earlier. Helping CEOs grow their business faster and scaling up businesses. So the point that I came to when I wanted to move to coaching was when consulting added value to an extent, but the internalization was still not as much as I would have liked about the awareness or the understanding to the clients, I mean. So again, a situation happens, they again come back to you as a consultant. But as a coach, what I observed is that they really move their coordinates and they start operating from a more resourceful state. And the learnings and the internalization of the learnings, the awareness is far higher in coaching. And that was the reason why I moved from consulting to coaching after parallelly, getting better at my coaching for 4 years between 2009 and 13. And 2013, I in a way, I started coaching and stopped consulting.
Very interesting. So, in some sense, would it be fair to say then that the niche was already there with you? It's just that you use the niche in a different manner from a consulting perspective, and you just found coaching to be a little more of a permanent change that you could enable in the coachee or the client that you're working with. Would that be a fair way to characterize it?
Precisely.
Yeah, fantastic. So Subhash, I think in some way the first part of the question is sort of similar, right? What is it about coaching that created that sense of a spark? Because you've also been in the corporate for a fairly long time. What was your calling? PK was talking about it being a calling. When did this calling happen to you?
So for me, this happened, at an INSEAD executive education program that that I undertook in 2012-13, and that was a time when we chose to come back from overseas, return to India, and settle down here. And I was figuring out whether I want to get back to the rat race. I was at big Bandra complex, ICICI Bank. I think at the epicenter of the race. I had a great learning opportunity before I moved overseas. So when I experienced coaching, which was part of the curriculum, as PK rightly said, I knew this was my calling. For me, it was an absolutely crystal clear that and I came home and said, I think I've discovered what I need to do now. Then I just got into learning again for my PCC certifications, and rest is history. As
Rest
you
is
say,
history.
personally, yeah.
Which is very interesting. So you underwent through your own journey of going through your PCC and later on to become MCC as well. When did you decide on not just coaching, but truly becoming an enabler for many aspirant coaches that had embarked on their own journeys?
So
When
this
did
happened
that
in
transition? Yeah.
2013. I started my PCC journey, and March I started practicing. April I got my first paid client. When I was still in my PCC journey, one of my batchmates at INSEAD is my proud paid client because he claims that I'm your first paid client. So this training I started, or mentoring I started in 2014 September. That is almost 2 years later. Yeah.
Hmm. And so it was essentially the fact that you already had someone that became the epicenter or the reason, the motivation for you to start this journey as well, to become more
So
of a mentor than just stay as a coach.
no, so the mentor, I had to fill in for the mentor who suddenly took ill, and he offered me to step in. I stepped in, and he got a very bad feedback from my first session actually, because I was wearing more the corporate hat than a coach's hat, and definitely not a mentor coach hat. I mean, by the way, our common friend Akhil was part of that batch. Yeah, so we had some argument and all that, and very, very nasty feedback went. But, somehow, those are some of our best friends today.
Hmm.
It just evolved over a period of time. Unlike my coaching, the decision to become a coach, which was a penny drop moment, I would say, when I experienced professional coaching. Uh, this was more an organic evolution. I was not very keen on this, by the way. Yeah, today my bulk of my time I spend on this, but it just happened. I did the first cohort in Chennai, my second home, because that's where I started my career. Somewhere it just got into I felt I can do this also, and then
Hmm.
it is just the I always say the satsang of fellow coaches, right? It's just the joy of being with fellow coaches that I think kept me there. Yeah.
Very interesting. So this was more of an organic element that came
Yeah,
in.
it was correct.
So I'll come back to you, PK. You've obviously established yourself as a commercially successful coach, which incidentally is the topic of our conversation today as well. Can you break this down for us in terms of what does success as actually a coach mean to you? And then I'll come to a second part that I have as well. So, what does success actually mean when you think about coaching?
See, like any other business,
Yeah.
a coach is a business person, whether we realize it or not. And for any business, success means two things primarily, which is probably a sum total of many things that we do under both of them in an appropriate way. So, two primary things for any product or service, including coaching, to be successful are: one, we need to be a good coach. So we need to be a value adding coach in terms of coaching skills, in terms of the coaching competencies, in terms of mindset. We need to be a
Mm,
good coach. And second is that we need to be good at the business of coaching, meaning identifying the potential prospects, marketing well so that you get leads, converting well. So you need to have sales skills. And then the coaching skills takes care of the coaching conversation. So these two aspects are like two sides of the same coin. So, a successful coach for me would be somebody who invests himself in keeping his coaching skills up to date, and who is up to date with who is probably best in his craft or her
mm.
craft, and who is visible to the prospects, so that he has a funnel that is healthy, and he has a good bank account balance.
Yeah, and sometimes that's a space that some of us perhaps feel a little wary of doing, because we call it an inner calling, we call it a passion, and we expect that to build by itself. But what I'm hearing from you is the need to be very deliberate about the second part. Obviously, you need the competencies, you need to be an expert in your area, but you also need to deliberately create that visibility for yourself. Now, you did speak
Absolutely.
about the mindset in this conversation. I'm
Hmm.
just curious for your own self, as you moved from a consultant in the area of helping out CEOs to becoming a coach in the area of helping out businesses. You might have been known to some extent that visibility perhaps was there, but what was the shift in the mindset from your perspective that was required to make it equally successful?
Yeah, and that is a very good question, actually. It is a very, very subtle shift. Whereas in terms of consultant, the entire outcome is on our head.
Hmm.
Whereas as a coach, the process is in our hands, but the outcome is purely based on client's action and client's interest and client's inclination.
Hmm.
This level of kind of spiritual awakening has to happen to the coaches. Because it is a spiritual awakening, this is where we really find detached attachment. And that doesn't in any way leave us not turning any stone that we can turn. And it is highly involved, but not worried or concerned with the outcomes. So that is primarily spirituality for me.
Wow. So in some sense, you're enabling your client to get to the outcomes, and yet you're not emotionally attached to that outcome. Would that be
Absolutely.
a one way of thinking about it?
Absolutely. But in most cases, when we
Yeah.
are keeping that distance, we will be having the mindset that is needed to address clients issues,
Yeah.
because that mindset is extremely important. One needs to understand them, but at the same time we need to keep a distance from the issue, otherwise you become part of the issue.
Hmm. Okay. Very nice. Um, so Subhash, how was your journey from I think that spiritual space that we are in, from the space of I think being in service for the client and so on and so forth, to really creating a commercially viable business, because it requires a slightly different mindset as well. How was that journey for you?
See, personally, for me, it was easy because I've handled P&L pretty much 18 out of my 21 years of career, professional career.
Hmm.
I was responsible for P&L. Second, before I got into coaching, towards the later, the last leg of my corporate career, I got introduced to healing and have done some certifications also. So some of this baggage, a typical lower middle class person like me would have carried, got addressed there. So I was very, unapologetic about making a commercial success of my business.
Hmm.
Right? Number three, with all humility, I share this on a public platform. My friends know this. It's not the money is. We're not just chasing money. We are chasing impact for sure. For that, everything that we need to do, we are doing. We are investing in ourselves heavily. Like I admire PK reads for almost 4 hours a day, right? I mean that's such a huge investment on himself, and a lot of other things he does. Similarly, I am also sharpening the saw,
Hmm.
as Stephen Covey says. Uh, then it is about the community that depend on us. It's just not my family, right? There are people who work with us. The rent I pay, right? I'm happy that I'm paying rent for my office to someone. So there is an ecosystem that, and I am directly or indirectly supporting. And the last point, uh, we just confirmed our sponsorship, corporate sponsorship for the the Tata TCS
Hmm.
marathon in
Marathon. Yeah.
and that contribution is going entirely to an NGO that I am associated with, and I know every penny is very well spent. Now, where do I spend for this philanthropy or charity? Wrong words. but I mean, to give back or pay forward. Let me put it that way. You have to make a business out of it. So I mean, just to build on that question, we all, perhaps it's more cultural also, apart from a background, that we carry this stigma of taking money for such a holistic service, something as transformational as coaching. Now
Hmm.
then it is not business, and anything that is offered free is not valued,
That's
right?
true.
Yeah.
That's true. So that's the dilemma, right? The dichotomy as well, where anything offered free is not valuable. On the other hand, you have to sort of position yourself as this transformation enabler in a way. Right?
Yes. Yes.
And it sometimes sounds a little too big, isn't it? So how do you balance that? How do you, and it's for both of you, either of you can answer that. How do you balance the dimension of, on one side, staying humble, staying grounded, staying rooted, and staying true to the cause of coaching and at service and the spiritual element that PK said. On the other hand, truly positioning ourselves as somebody who can actually make a difference to somebody else. Is there any dichotomy at all, or you think
Okay.
that's something that we
Yeah.
have to figure out how to balance?
I would say I am not able to see any dichotomy.
Okay.
The reason is when somebody is hungry, when we give food, hotels or restaurants are charging money.
Hmm.
And when you want to cook, you want to go to the shop for the rice, they take money. And when you are ill and you are going to a doctor, he is charging money. And when you want to get medicines, medical shops are taking money. And when you are aggrieved by an unfair treatment, you go to a lawyer, he takes money or
Just
she
money.
takes money.
Yeah.
So this element of we are holier than thou is the basis of this confusion.
Hmm.
Coaching need not be considered holier than thou. Coaching is just like any other profession,
Hmm.
and we want to address some of the issues of a particular segment. I am coming back to that because you can't heat the entire ocean. So you need to take a part of the space and a part of segment, a part of the corner that the 700 crore people in the world offers. And when you address their specific issues, you are understanding that segments, the target segment, what I call in business terms. But if you choose a segment that you connect with and you are addressing specific issues that they face, you are aware of their landscape, you are aware of their space, and when you are closely interacting with them and alongside that you offer some services as a product to them and they use it and they move, of course that is a service that is chargeable, and there is
Chargeable.
nothing absolutely, there is nothing
That we
charitable
need to be
about it.
apologetic about. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there is nothing charitable about it. We are
True.
helping him become a better, helping him produce. In my case, that is where in scale up coaching, somebody who is 20, 30, 40 crore businesses wanting to go to 200 crores, that is what my service is all about. And they move.
Hmm.
And more people move, they word of mouth and the marketing brings other additional clients. So it is a absolute business for me. There is no two
Fantastic.
questions about it. It is
Yeah.
just a business like selling rice or selling medicines or selling legal services by an advocate. I mean, nothing charitable about it. It is absolute business.
Fantastic. Thanks for that sort of affirmation and the clarity that you brought in. So I want to slowly now move into the specific program that you both have sort of called out, specifically to address the space, because I think the idea is to enable people to become commercially successful. So maybe Subhash, I'll get started with you on this program that you've put together called Coaching Unlimited. What was the genesis of the program? What really served as the trigger for this?
The trigger, the credit goes to PK.
Okay.
PK, in one of our conversations, PK said, as a coach, we all need to sharpen the proverbial saw once in a way, step back, look at our style. Because, 2, 3, 5 years when you practice as a coach, you develop a particular style, a bit, particular way of doing things, and everything may not be the best way to do, right? there is always a scope to get step back and fine tune. Actually, that was the genesis. From there, we just
Mm.
built, and then we went to Yelagiri for the first edition between Bangalore and Chennai Hill Resort. And we roped in PK was a participant in the first edition, but the other side of PK, right? His passion for travel and everything related to that. So PK helped us with the logistics, and we had a fantastic time. And then
Mm.
from then on, we strengthened the business quotient. So what
Okay.
was 26 CCUs earlier, we added additional and made it 38 CCUs. We really strengthened the business side of coaching. Like now we have 2 days for core competencies and 2 days for the resource development RD. So the 38 competencies are enough for you to renew your credentials. So I mean, the genesis, that is genesis. I also want to highlight that what we start, if somebody from Eligiri cohort attends the upcoming one in Colombo, they would see how much we have also evolved, not only as the mentors but also as the content. Right? Every
Mm.
edition we are fine tuning, depending on what we are experiencing the each cohort. Yeah, so
And
it
so
starts
even
with
the Yelagiri cohort, did you set up sort of core tenets that you wanted to definitely not negotiate? I mean, which was non-negotiable as far as the programs were concerned?
yeah.
The
So
core
this is a
tenets for
pre-approved. Yeah, this is a ICC approved program by ICF. So
yeah.
you know how ICF is very meticulous in these matters, right? So
Mm.
pre-approved. It's an ICF approved 38 CCUs. So it was very, 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 very clear that we wanted to cover both business and core competencies. Because as speaker rightly said, you can only sell a good product. You can only sell
Correct.
a good. You have to be good at the craft. So that is
Mm.
a foundation. But then what we do brilliantly is also that as successful coaches, and personally me also, I never got a lot of these guidance that I give to my mentees now, right? The whole journey of setting up coaches. But the finer elements of that are actually covered at the CU. Yeah.
Interesting. And maybe this question is to both of you. So, what were some of the shared perspectives you brought into while conceptualizing this program, and what might have been some complementary perspectives that you brought in? Because that potentially adds to the richness of how this program itself evolves, isn't it? So, I'm just curious to know because you've had slightly different perspectives, I'm sure, from where you're coming from and the kind of coaching you do and the roles that you play as well. So, shared and supplementary or complementary perspectives.
See, as Subhash said, I was in 2021 when we did Elagiri, or when we conceptualized Elagiri after 9 to 12 months of cohesion to Subhash. I was 8 years into coaching. 2013, I started coaching. So 12 years, 13 years now, 12 years now. So anything, when we travel a lot, there is a drift. And even when you run the car for so long, even if they are quite nice roads, still you need to align the wheels once in a while. So I was feeling that requirement with respect to my own competency. For example, I had studied 13 competencies, but later was reduced to 8, and there was some reorientation, etc. I attended all those workshops, but still I wanted to ensure that my clients get the best me.
Mm.
I am not I was not satisfied with anything lesser than the best that I can be as a coach, because ultimately the clients pay for it and the clients feel it. So that was the basis for that. So I was a learner for core competencies part. Even now I am a learner for core competencies, probably forever. And business side of coaching was the very next one that we did in Chennai. We did business of coaching, because a lot of coaches, I had been talking to coaches in Bengaluru, Chennai, and Pune, and Mumbai chapters, sessions on how to set up business of coaching, and including the business, the global ICF Converge, which is a business development focused program, where also I presented how to set up business of coaching. So we felt that we should extend those tips, or those intricacies of setting up a successful coaching business to Indian coaches and the coaches in this part of the world. So that is where subsequently in Chennai, in Bangalore, in Jaipur, in Mumbai, in Bangalore again, and now Colombo, we are now focusing 50% of our time on business of coaching and 50% of the time on core competencies, because they
Mm,
are just like two sides of the same coin, and both needs to be well aligned and well relevant for the market to have the value for the coin, right?
mm.
So that is the complementary thing that we do. So first 2 days, Subhash will be a little active, and the next 2 days I will be more active.
Fantastic. Two sides.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add, Subhash?
No, I think Picky covered it brilliantly. We have, I don't want to go into specific elements, but I'll just give one example. What I personally recognized during, as a co-facilitator is I've improved my chemistry session after I started this, and it has improved dramatically. My conversion was always good, but it's got better.
Mm,
So, I mean, the art of doing a chemistry session is something that kind of those additions that have come in. Of course, another thing, a lot of effort goes into from PK's side is there is a 100-day, roadmap, right? See, you stick to if the coaches are uh, compliant from a CC8 action orientation point of view, they get really great value out of it.
value out of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you've so far done six cohorts or six sessions, right, at different places, and you're embarking on the seventh one. What sort of inputs, feedback, experiences have you heard from the participants that have gone through some of these? Anything that you would like to share over here?
Sure. One of the early editions, one of the participants, he is a biker, and he found his niche as a result of our conversations in the CU. With a lot of importance is given to our business segment, and he had a ratio of 80%, 20% in terms of revenue, 80% coming from consulting and 20% from coaching when he participated. But within 6 to 9 months, he could reverse the ratio. And after 1 year of our CU, he came with a couple of presents to both of us, and he told that now the ratio is reversed: 80%
Wow.
from coaching and 20% from consulting. And there are such stories, and people who have found their business, found their confidence to to go and market themselves. That is another one aspect. So we have, as Subhash said, one is the marketing part of it, and the second is the conversion part of it. So for
Mm,
marketing, we discuss a lot of things around where we play and what is the differentiator and how we can reach our prospects and how we can share content marketing and those kinds of things. On the other hand, even after a lead is obtained, how to nurture it and convert it into a sale. So we have a demonstration of a chemistry session, how it needs to be done. It might be very different from what generally people understand about understanding the coach and understanding the coachee, etc. A chemistry session is much beyond all that, actually.
mm.
So to be effective, a chemistry session can be something which is very powerful, which we demonstrate. And that is the result that Subhash was telling himself, that his own conversion rate has gone up after that.
Fantastic. I mean, it's really amazing. I think what I'm hearing from you all, I think it's creating a lot more positive energy around this. Anything else as we come close to the end of the session? I know that we were just looking at providing some sense of preview for the session as well for the Coaching Unlimited cohort that's scheduled in Colombo. Anything else that any of you, either of you, would like to add before we conclude this?
For me, it's an experience professional coaches cannot afford to miss. And it's not because PK and I are co-facilitating this. You can talk to any past participant, and they'll vouch for it. The sheer experience of coming together and spending 4 days, I think every coach deserves it. Every client deserves it. Every client
Mm,
of yours deserves that sharpening in your craft, and that's our guarantee. And Colombo is a beautiful place, beautiful time to travel to, and both of us became more so passionate traveler. So we also bring in that element of fun into everything, and there's a lot of fun. There's a lot of joy in the process itself. It's not very too serious learning, but this very adult learning. How to pick anything you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, the real reason why probably beyond, coaching unlimited as a product, what we also want to, in a way, see more and more is that coaches are well-meaning people, and they invest their time, energy, resources in setting up, learning something new, and setting up something which is still in the nascent stage in terms of business. And I sincerely feel coaches are not as successful and not as commercially successful as they should be, as they
Mm.
deserve to be. And there is also that angle, of part of the vision that we need to see. We want to see, both of us are shared in that. We want to see more and more coaches to be successful.
Fantastic. I think with this idea of joy that Subhash said, and the idea of creating more successful coaches across the PK that you shared, I think we'll come to the conclusion of this particular session. Thank you so very much for sharing your rich perspectives. Thank you
Thank
so much.
you.
Everyone else that have been listening to the session, hope you have an opportunity to enroll yourself into the session and move forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anand.
Thank you.
Thank you, Subhash.